So my grandmother died of congestive heart failure. But for me, I have always said that she died of a broken heart because she gave everything she had and she didn't leave anything for herself.
I am valuable because I'm here. God made me. God took the time to make me, and I have life.
We are all interconnected. We are co-creators with Source. Through intentional growth, through grounding and self-work, I increased my capacity to hold like a higher energy, emotionally, spiritually, and definitely mentally.
I am worthy because God's spirit lives in me.
It's about having the courage to look within and be grounded in the spaces that we're still underdeveloped inside of us. And through this, we educate, we empower, we teach, and be vulnerable with each other in those spaces. So that's what this podcast is about. And that's how Ancestry continues to shape and influence me.
I want to be cute. So how do I do this and still, keep the integrity of what I think is fashionable and also not trying to imitate a culture that doesn't look like me or serve me in any kind of way?
We are enough because we exist. We are powerful. We don't need to compare ourselves to anyone or anything. There is no culture, there is no race that is greater than any other. We are all interconnected, and we are here to do good on this earth. My name is Dr. Robert Nesbitt Jr., and I'm originally from the Bronx, New York. I grew up in an inner city, and technically the Northeast Bronx, Co-op City. And when I grew up, it was predominantly a Jewish neighborhood in the early 80s when I was growing up. And then I would say when I was about 11 years old in 1990, then the community became a little more diverse. There were people of Latin culture that integrated into Co-op City, and also, other African Americans and West Indian, Caribbean. And then I was exposed to various cultures, which was quite interesting and empowering. I went to Catholic school. My entire educational career up until college, from age 3 up until I was a senior in high school. My family, on my mother's side, was religious, specifically Roman Catholic. And that stems from roots in New Orleans, Louisiana. My father's a practicing Methodist, and my mother was a practicing Catholic. So growing up in the Bronx shaped my worldview pretty early on. It definitely taught me resilience. It taught me awareness and how an environment can truly impact one's identity. I would say it also taught me survival and taught me a lot about mental health, which interests me in going into that field. I would say I went into psychology and social work because I wanted to really understand people, especially pain, trauma, and behavior beneath the surface, right? Things that I've experienced myself. I did not have an easy childhood, and I wanted to know why I was always so angry, especially when I turned about 13, 14 years old. Much of that curiosity came a lot from my life experiences and a deep need to understand why people suffer and how healing actually happens. So with this podcast, as it unfolds, you'll hear more about those personal and professional layers because of my journey, Going into this work wasn't accidental, it was purposeful. I would say my ancestry shaped me in both visible and invisible ways. I've always felt a sense of higher purpose, something like truly bigger than just career or achievement. And I would say over time, that awareness deepened into a spiritual awakening for me. I came to understand that we are all interconnected, that we are co-creators with Source, through intentional growth, through grounding and self-work. I increased my capacity to hold like a higher energy, emotionally, spiritually, and definitely mentally. I've learned with every disappointment or setback that I've experienced in my life, it truly was something that taught me a lesson. And instead of truly breaking me down, I feel like those moments truly refined me and shaped me into who I am today. They definitely pushed me closer to my higher self. And what I mean by that is I strongly feel and believe that we are spiritual beings inside this physical body. And our spirit is much stronger than any problem, than any challenge, or any difficulty that we face in this human experience that we are living in this material, physical world. I feel like my truth is my purpose, and my purpose here on this earth is to help others reach that same level of awareness. And I feel like we can reach this level of awareness collectively on a spiritual and an interconnected level. I feel like there is a need in this world to reconnect truly with our souls, with our lineage, with our ancestors, and also with, our own power. I feel like we are not here just because we're here. I firmly believe that we are here for a higher purpose. I feel like we're not here to break each other down. I feel like we're not here to make fun of people. I feel like we're not here to, compare accomplishments to others. I feel like this world operates a lot on ego versus spiritual. The ego appears to outweigh the spiritual side of a lot of people in this world. And what I want this podcast to bring is an awareness that we are enough because we exist. We are powerful. We don't need to compare ourselves to anyone or anything. There is no culture, there is no race that is greater than any other. We are all interconnected, and we are here to do good on this earth. I think one of my first favorite gifts that I received was from my father, and that was a video camera. It wasn't like a high-end type of video camera. It was a Fisher-Price PXL 2000. And I got that when I was in 5th grade. So I believe I was about 10 or 11 years old. And with that camera, I captured a lot of moments growing up. And for me, videography has been an escape. Escape from the world that I did not always feel like I fit in. A world that I learned to be afraid of. A world that taught me what fear and anxiety and depression was. And so, in capturing video, I was able to create my own reality, my own story, my own existence, without any fear, sadness, or anxiety. This is my grandmother, who was a New York City school special education teacher. She's from Shreveport, Louisiana. My mother, who passed away 3 years ago, she also was a New York City school special education teacher. And I miss her very much. And she's always inspired me to work hard, not to settle for anything less. And to know and honor and respect our family and know where we came from. And to never, ever to be ashamed of that. That has truly shaped my identity.
Hi, my name is Reverend Martine Gloria Bruno. I am also known as the Angel of New York. And if I don't have enough names, you can call me Pastor Gloria. My father called me, well, it's my father and my mom. They both tell different stories about how Martine came about. But Martine came about because somebody was an actress, somebody was a singer, and they hoped that I would be a singer or an actress, so hence Martine. But sometimes people call me Martina because it's all right. Just don't call me late for dinner. And I want to be around people who inspire me. And so my three initial friends, they're Dr. Schuler and Dr. Nesbitt. And I was like, I'll hang around with them. Okay, sure. Because it's true. The 5 people that you hang out with the most, they usually rub off on you. So I really just wanted to be down with the homies. How my ancestry shaped who I am today. So I'm Haitian American. And being Haitian has always been a big part of my identity. And one of the things we learned earlier on, even me going to church, we learned 1804. 1804, we got our independence. And so there's always been a sense of freedom that I grew up with, and knowing that nobody is my master. So it's like understanding that, and my Christian influences through Jesus, I've always seen Jesus as a liberator, and how Jesus did not comply with the status quo. And so my ancestry has always given me the permission to be free, and also live in free spaces. And when I feel like I'm not free, or I can't be my full self or my authentic self, it does affect me in a negative way. Now, what's really interesting is that Haitian culture tends to be very conservative also. So my ancestry shapes my courage. I always feel courageous because I come from the flock that won their independence in 1804. They didn't wait for someone to give them their independence. They didn't wait for permission. They fought and they won, and we continue to navigate what that means. It may not look right on some other people's from other people's perspective. Everybody has their ideas of what liberty looks like, but to define life on its own terms, that's what my ancestry has contributed to my life, and that is the backbone and of my life. This idea of freedom, and whether it looks right to you or not, that's not my business. The point is, I'm operating from a free space. I think about my dad a lot. He's one of the ancestors who I miss him so much. And I think about how he's worked so hard. He worked so hard, but his identity was all about what he did or how he performed. And people don't know that about him. They just saw him as the guy who was very outspoken. But my father really did care about people's feedback, to the point where when he couldn't perform anymore, when he got sick and his body couldn't do what it used to do, because he used to be strong, he used to be fast, he used to do these different things, a great soccer player, he didn't want to live anymore because he couldn't perform. And so that's a pattern I'm working daily to reframe, as Dr. Torrey would say, and reclaim this idea that I am worthy because God's Spirit lives in me.
Okay. Okay. Hi, everyone. So my name is Dr. Kismith Schuler. I am a licensed clinical social worker and a doctor of social work. I am from Westchester County, New York, but I am a transplant to Connecticut for the last 5 years or so. So I wanted to share a little background and context about why this podcast was important for me to be a part of. So a little background is that probably, I'm going to say about 2 years ago when this conversation started about the podcast, I was really excited to hear about it and learn about it and have the potential opportunity. But I wasn't quite sure where I would fit in or how this would evolve. Fast forward to today, the conversation's evolved. I'm super excited to be a part of this and be a co-host. And it's pushing me to do things in a different way that I might not have done otherwise. So I'm really excited about the opportunity. How has my ancestry shaped who I am today? So earlier I talked about how unspoken rules about strength, silence, and survival have impacted me. So I come from a long line of very strong, independent Black women in my family. And so that's what I know. That's a big part of who I am foundationally is. And so, good, bad, or indifferent, it is what I knew, what I understood, what made sense to me. And as I got older, some of those things as it relates to strength, silence, and survival, some of them I held on to, and some of them I had to learn how to let go. Some of those beliefs didn't serve me anymore. And so I had to be willing to think about what was going to work for me, what was going to make me be a better version of myself? What was going to sustain me so that I wasn't just surviving? So I think that that's a big part of transformation for me when it comes to how I was raised, what I saw, my lived experiences, um, and how I saw that. So my grandmother and I were extremely close. My grandmother pretty much raised me. And so she had 7 children, and I always was sort of considered the eighth kiddo. And so growing up with my aunts and uncles, they were more like brothers and sisters to me. So my grandmother died January 22nd, 2010. And that was one of the most devastating days of my life because I felt like I lost a part of me. I don't think I've ever said that out loud. Hmm. So my grandmother died of congestive heart failure. But for me, I have always said that she died of a broken heart because she gave everything she had and she didn't leave anything for herself. Growing up, I watched how strong she was, how she stayed silent about things, how she held things together. She was the glue that held the family together. I knew that she was still suffering, but as a kid, I didn't have a way to help her. I didn't have a way to support her. And so these were lessons that she left with me, that I knew that I wanted more, that I wanted to do things differently. And so that's why I sort of say I'm like the family disruptor, because if it's not right, how do I advocate for that? How do I say that? How do I ask for what I need? And how do I stop the dysfunction, disrupt the dysfunction? And so even though they weren't words that she said, there were little subtleties that she would say and do that really resonated with me. And so those are the things that I miss about my grandmother, but I hold her near and dear in my heart. And I know that she's with me always and always looking down and over me. And I know that she's extremely proud of me and all of the accomplishments. So I love you, Grandma, and thank you.
Hello, my name is Dr. Posey. I'm a licensed clinical social worker. I'm very adamant about how my earlier development of exposure of growing up in New Orleans shaped the skill set that I absolutely wanted to draw from in my later childhood growing up in Montville, Connecticut. So my dad was in the military. He was in the Coast Guard, and we were stationed here when about middle school aged. So for the first half of my earlier childhood, I was in Louisiana, and I went to Gaudet Elementary and St. Simon Peter. Most of my teachers looked like me. The neighborhood I grew up in, it wasn't, and then when I say it wasn't special, I don't mean it as, oh, it wasn't anything special. What I mean is everyone in my neighborhood was middle class, had jobs that were, in my worldview at that time, standard, like a teacher or a principal or a nurse or, something that was in the community where you would raise your families. And everyone in our neighborhood looked the same, had similar systems of values, and they looked like me. So being who I am and what I know of Blackness up against people's stereotypes of what Blackness should be, it was very irritating for me because I felt I had to educate almost everyone around me on what it looks like to have pride in yourself. So the sad part is when you do that, it makes you a target. And people accused me of being racist. Now, because I have a preference for us does not make me racist. And I have a full foundation in that now. But back then, because I had a preference and I would point out again, didn't have the complete language, but I would point out the inaccuracies of some of these comments that I was getting that were definitely based in racism and bias. People would make it seem like I'm problematic. Now, the full reason I could do that is because of the fact that I'm from New Orleans. That's why I love my culture so much, because not only did a lot of my teachers in my community look like me, we had celebrations that were passed down from our African ancestors that I fully understood where it came from and valued very much. But we couldn't do those things up here at that time because there's no one else to celebrate with. And also because we were taken out of our culture. So the way it impacted me emotionally was a few ways. I would waver between feeling anxious and stressed about my identity, but then I would have an uptick of, I don't need to be like these folks. I don't want nothing they have. I want to build my own table. I want to be the best at everything. And I did. Most people who went to school with me then would be like, oh my God, you were so loved by everybody. You were the captain of the cheerleading squad. What are you talking about? You hated school. Okay, Miss Montville. But then I would explain to them what I'm explaining now, where people would try to impose their own identities of what they believe Blackness and being a Black female should be on me, and me having to resist that on a consistent basis, and how that really does impact you growing up, especially as a young woman. So this is my mom's mom, Sheila Adams Sanders was her married name. It has not been a year yet since she passed. I was very close with her. She was a singer and a seamstress. She worked for the police, like the police in New Orleans for a little while. She also worked for the phone company, and she's like climb up them poles. Like, but this woman right here raised my mom by herself, got her own home, literally bought her own house in the 70s. I really don't know how she did it, but yes, it was in her name. My favorite memories were her sitting in her living room, me right there in the living room too, and her sewing her beautiful gowns to sing in. She used to make all her own gowns to sing. My grandmother is so responsible for me thinking like I am who I say I am. This woman right here, always affirming me. Sometimes her criticisms were so harsh, but they were based out of love. They were definitely based out of love, based out of her wanting to help us succeed, help me achieve who she saw me as and who she knew I was capable of.
My name is Christopher Smothers, and I'm from Marietta, Georgia. I'm a professional genealogist, and I wanted to do this podcast because there isn't really a space where in the podcast world we have environments where ancestry is really part of the conversation. A lot of times we're talking about the problems that exist in society without understanding the full root and extent of where those problems originate. And if you look up your family tree, you'll see a lot of those initial patterns developing. And so as we have conversations about what's going on in the world, we're really having conversations about the infrastructure of ideology that people have had, shared, passed down for generations. And when we approach ancestry and mental health from that perspective, we become more informed about who we descend from, what we've inherited, and how we want to make an informed decision about our future. But one thing about us is that our internal archive never forgets. Our intergenerational memory that our DNA remembers never separates us from the sacrifices and resilience. And oftentimes we recognize that we can be in an environment and be triggered and not even know why we're triggered, but we know we're triggered. And so that is a direct correlation to that internal archive that we have. And so oftentimes it's not until later in life that we really take inventory and appraisal of what's in our internal archive that we walk around every day, allowing us to subconsciously inform our decision making. We don't even notice it's happening, but we are guided by our spirit because we are spiritual beings. And so it's impossible for us to exist in this state and not be in communion with that which is within, like the energy, that the life force, the spirit, the soul that continues to propel us forward. Past and future are both present at the same time. And so when we think about who we are in our existence and how we're sharing and distributing our energy across different work, different tasks, different goals that we have in our life, who we are in our core memory is informing us. And that can be good or bad, depending on the type of lives that our ancestors lived and the type of character that they had to develop in order to overcome whatever situation they were in. That to me is why humans continue to survive. At the root of it is love. But that's why there's so much strength in reclaiming that memory. And there's so much power in sharing those stories so people can realize that the experiences they're having are not new. And when we have conversations that normalize the good and the bad and the ugly, we create spaces where people feel welcome to be present and grounded in who they are, where they are right now. I think we are really good about iconizing or idolizing our, like, Martin Luther King's, Jesse Jackson's, Marcus Garvey's, our big names in Black history, and they certainly need to be celebrated. But oftentimes we don't even recognize and value the leaders and the champions in our own ancestry because we just don't share the memory. We don't have conversations and normalize it. Like, it's like I said, going back to that first question, it's so much that goes in the conscious, like, conversations. We love to be entertained, but we don't want to sit down and have a conversation about our finances. We love to go to Mardi Gras and go to the show and barbecue, but we don't know how to have conversations about generational wealth or establishing a family trust or, using that property that great granddaddy had, and it's just sitting there and nobody's doing nothing about it. So we don't know how to use the low-hanging fruit opportunities of things that we actively have at our disposal. So unity is the biggest thing. And so I would say that not utilizing our gifts and talents to our fullest opportunity, that could be in music, that could be in real estate property, or just disposable income, is just not using those things that are within our wheelhouse to our fullest opportunity, because we need to be able to unify under things that are strategic and coordinated, not just being entertained in an environment that, is just about party. And, and there's a time and place for that, but we also need to be able to compartmentalize and make space for, actually making sure that we can create residual income for our whole family. We need to be able to normalize those types of things and invite all the generations into that conversation, because you don't know what you don't know. And if we're not having conversations about those types of things, they're never going to know what's possible for them. And to me, that's the biggest lesson, is being able to live life in a way that edifies not just you, but everybody coming after you. And I feel like often we're thinking about just ourselves and making sure we're good instead of, supporting the people that depend on us.
The Real Roots and Resilience podcast is brought to you by Modern Origins.
All right, so in case you're wondering, the clean and chemical-free candles we only carry in our studio, they are from one of our proud sponsors, Modern Origins. When was the last time you truly paused, Not to scroll or plan, but just to breathe. At Modern Origins, they truly believe small rituals can make a big difference for your mind and your spirit. The handcrafted intention candles, bath soaks, and wax melts are made with clean ingredients, essential oils, and crystals designed to help you reconnect, release stress, and create moments of calm in your day. They're absolutely perfect for soaking in the bathtub after a trying day, having a quiet moment in meditation, journaling through a breakthrough, and even while watching our podcast. Modern Origins helps you turn self-care into something sacred. Visit modernoriginsus.com to build your ritual and get 15% off your first order with code CALM15. That's CALM15. modernoriginsus.com, because your healing deserves intention.
We are not here to shout into the void, nor to echo the noise of a world unhealed. We are planters with hands in the soil of truth, turning pain into purpose and wounds into wisdom.
This is sacred ground, where roots remember, where empowerment rises, where awareness blossoms, where love takes its rightful place again.
We plant seeds of transformation, not thorns of division. Our voices, not weapons, but waters. Our words, not rage, but renewal. Every story shared, a spark of remembrance. We are more than what hurt us. We are the light that outlived the storm.
In this garden of growth, we speak not to tear down, but to till the soil of the soul. We do not harvest hate. We harvest healing. We do not sow shadow. We sow resilience.
So let the doubters watch. Let the silence break as we rise from the roots, real, radiant, and renewed. For every seed we plant here grows into a future that listens, a future that loves, a future that remembers. Transformation begins with truth.